morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. I'm Annette Richmond, and this is Content Marketing School. And I'm so excited to have my buddy Jeff Young here with me today. We met, I think, a couple of years ago through our mutual friend, Jillian Whitney. And we've talked a few times, and I was so eager to have to talk to you for this show. So I'm so happy that you are here with me. So for anyone who for some reason does not know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, thank you, Annette. Thank you so much for having me back again. This is a third or fourth time I think that we've actually done this together, doing the live bits. And I don't do my own lives; I do other people's lives, which is nice to have friends who do lives. But I'm Jeff Young. Namaste. I am called the LinkedIn Guru. My network calls me that. I'm not trying to put on airs by saying I'm a guru or anything along those lines. That's actually my brand, and people gave me that nickname. But it really fits me to a T, because if you look up guru in the dictionary, you see the word teacher. And that's exactly what I've been doing most of my life. And for the last 16 years, I've been teaching LinkedIn. And that's why, by the way, that you also see the last son of Krypton back here behind me, because I also introduce myself sometimes by saying, hi, I'm Jeff Young. I'm a teacher. What's your superpower?
Oh, I love that. It's so you, and as Kevin would say, you are so always on brand with your with everything that you do. And so, we were chatting a little bit about what we're going to talk about before we got started. And one of the things that you pointed out, which I think is so important, is that when it comes to content marketing, particularly like on LinkedIn, it's for other platforms as well, but we're focusing on LinkedIn. It's really all about a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so many people think that, well, if I just do this, and Richard Van de Blom posted something, a video yesterday, I think it was, where he's like, okay, I'm going to share with you, how to get 100,000 followers in a month. Oh, no, no, no. And he went through all these ridiculous things. And so can you talk a little bit about that whole idea of it being the marathon and not the sprint?
Absolutely. I firmly planted it, tongue firmly planted in cheek. It's not about getting 100,000 followers. It's not about getting 100,000 views. It's about getting your message out there. And, first of all, it's not feast or famine either. Because of the fact that you and I remarked about one of the first things that you did. One of the first things you did got a huge number of views, and that's never happened again since. And that's fine. That's the way it works. But for me, the marathon, not a sprint, to me means the fact that you've got to commit to doing something with the content that you want to put out there for the long term. I mean, there are so many people that don't even do content at all. But there's so many different varieties of content you can do. You can do video content. You can do posts. You can do posts with images. You can do newsletters. You can do articles. You can do document posts. All of those are great varieties of posts, but it's a matter of doing this for the long term. And speaking of long term, I did a little research. And by the way, there's an article of yours out there. And by the way, there's an article of mine out there as well from the same time frame, from June of 2014. We've been contributing content to LinkedIn for over 10 years. And the coolest part about your content, especially if it's an article or a newsletter, since it's indexed by Google, that's how I found it. I literally went to your kind of content on your profile. It's all associated with your profile. I went and looked up the articles. I scrolled down to the very final one, and it said, I quote, the title, 4 Reasons Why Recruiters Don't Call You. Okay, and so I said, all right, I wonder if I can find that by doing a Google search for it. So I went out and I typed in 4 reasons why recruiters don't call you into Google, and guess whose article popped up? First thing, top of the list, yours. It was amazing.
It is really amazing. And I just want to, because I'm as I'm looking around here, I'm checking to see if we're live, and we seem to be having a little difficulty on LinkedIn. So if you're in the audience on LinkedIn, can you put a thumbs up or something in the comments that you can see us? Because it appears that we are LinkedIn, that it's still in pre-live mode. So
Uh-oh.
yeah, so okay, so okay, let's see. Let me just
I'm checking. As a matter of fact, I just looked at your profile and I do not see it live on your profile.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do not. So, well, we're going to keep
We're
going
going to YouTube,
and
I
I'm
see.
going to keep checking and hopefully it will put up. And if not, I will put the link to it on
Oh,
there. So, again, if you're out there, please do put a thumbs up or something in the comments so that we know that you're there. And we are live. We are actually live on Instagram though. So,
oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
we
I
have
assume
someone
YouTube as
joining us
well.
from Instagram. So, so okay, so let's continue.
Okay.
And one of the things too, when talking about the articles, and I'm glad you brought that up, and it was a once in a lifetime. I think it was the first or second article that I ever wrote on LinkedIn, and it just blew up, and it never happened since. Not even close to anything like that since, because it was like hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
views or something.
Yeah.
And but one of the things too, and now I think it's good to mention also because newsletters are going to be available to everyone, whether you have creator mode. Creator mode is being sort of phased out or shifted or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Revamped.
so so newsletters will be available to everyone, and I'm a big proponent of newsletters because of the added benefits you get that LinkedIn actually will push them out to everyone. And before I flip that to you, I just want to say
Yeah.
you have to make sure when you're doing a newsletter, though, that your first article is like the best you've ever done because that goes out to all your connections.
Right.
And so take it away with the other benefits you get from doing a newsletter.
Well, I've been doing a newsletter for about 3 years now, and I've done 31 editions. You've been doing it for about that amount of time as well, and so my first newsletter was August 2020. The real benefit behind newsletters was, first of all, that it's going to tell your entire network that it's out there, all your connections and all your followers. The very first time you publish one, it will go out there and say, "Would you like to subscribe to this person's newsletter?" Which is why, by the way, best practice wise, you're absolutely right. It has to be something that you really want to highlight. And as a matter of fact, my first newsletter was, I'm giving this newsletter thing a try, and it may be my last. I may never do this again, right? But it turned out to be such a great idea, and got me such great response that I came back. So fast forward from August 2020 to today, I've actually published over 30 different newsletters, and I've got over 26,000 subscribers. And that's the real key. The building that subscriber base, it was the first and really still the only type of content that LinkedIn has ever come up with that when you publish it, it will actually, if the person allows it in their settings, allow you to get an email that this has actually been published. So it's the very first kind of thing. So it's kind of like having an email subscriber list as well, without being able to see any of the emails. Okay, which I think is the best of both worlds. I tell people that, oh, by the way, FYI, if you subscribe to my newsletter, I'm never even going to see your email because LinkedIn doesn't provide it to me. But what it will provide you is every single time I've got something out there for you to see, it will pop up and say, "Hi, Jeff Young's just published a new newsletter." And it goes to email. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that is key to, again, for me, one of the things I remind people of about my newsletter is that you could read that entire newsletter if you wanted to in the email. Okay. But I actually almost always ask people to click through and go to LinkedIn because that gives them a chance to actually make comments on it. That it gives them a chance to, it gives me a chance to actually get more views. But it's been consistently the most views that I've had on any form of any content that I've ever done. And that's bar none. Video content, image content, articles, et cetera. It's been one of the best features as far as content is concerned that I've ever run across. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I did not get them early on, but when newsletters originally were out, they rolled out to a certain number of people, as LinkedIn does. They roll it out to a select group. And I started doing my newsletter when all of a sudden, I think it was the December in like 2021, I think. And they just all of a sudden, it's like everybody had them and everybody jumped on them. And a lot of the newsletters that I subscribe to, people that I knew, good content, 3 months, 6 months, never again.
Yep.
And and so I've been fairly consistent. I've missed a month here and there, but I try to make it up. So I just want to make a comment on LinkedIn as you were sharing that information. I was reconnecting us to LinkedIn, and but I'm not seeing it
It, it
on
is
the
up on
event.
LinkedIn now. It's on your banner.
It's on my banner, but it's
Yeah.
not on the event page.
Oh, that's weird.
I
Okay.
know.
Well, yeah, it says it's live now, or at least I'm seeing live on your LinkedIn banner when I go to your profile. So just wanted to check that.
Okay, I just checked and we are now live on the event page and on the banner. So
Well,
LinkedIn was
that's
a
a good
little glitchy today, but at least we're just, you
thing.
know, a little bit in.
It's been a little
So
glitchy the last week or so. Kevin and Jillian just had a live that was a little strange because Jillian disappeared about 20
I
minutes into it.
know. I
Yeah.
know. I was in the audience but Kevin, as he is, was the trooper and he just kept going. So
Yes.
that happened to me
Thanks for
once when
showing up,
Brenda was
Kevin.
my guest and she kept going too until I finally managed to get back in.
Yeah.
So we've talked about articles and we talked about newsletters. So what should we jump to next? Your
Well,
choice.
I want to mention one more thing about as far as newsletters is concerned, because again,
Okay.
it's the second type of Google indexed format, and it relates to what we're talking about today. Literally, my second newsletter, I think, which was from August of 2020, was
Mhm.
actually titled "Anatomy of a LinkedIn Post." And if you want to look that up on Google, you can find that as far as that's concerned. And it talks about content, what you should put into content, how you should approach your content, et cetera. Okay, so it gets to the point where I think where we move into now is really talking about how you approach this from a best practice standpoint. And folks who know me, Annette, know that I'm always talking about C's, right? I mean, if you go to my profile, you're going to see the fact that I volunteer and I get paid in 3 C's: coffee, conversation, and occasionally chocolate, right? But when I did that newsletter, okay, I also talked about content creation and the anatomy of a post from a C standpoint as well.
Mhm.
So briefly, let me give you this in the Reader's Digest of it, okay?
Okay.
The C's that I talked about were: content is king, context is King Kong, and consistency is King Kong's mother. Okay.
Okay.
So now I don't know what that brings to your mind, but here's what I mean. Just a couple of sentences. Okay. Content is
Huh?
king. Okay. What do you think that means?
It means it's having valuable content is the first step. You have to make it content of value, not something you're just posting to post. That's what I
Exactly.
think of.
You've got to be talking about something you're knowledgeable enough to
Yeah,
talk about.
hopefully.
Yeah, let's hope so, right? So if you can publish content about something that you are a subject matter expert about, then people will start to agree with you that, wow, he really knows what he's talking about, or she knows what she's talking about. You really are a subject matter expert. So the content has to be something, and it has to be content that, well, it has to be content that can resonate with the audience that you're after as well, which gets us to the second C. Context is King Kong. Okay, and folks on the podcast can't see me beating. Maybe they can hear me beating my chest. They won't see me beating my chest. But context is King Kong because of the fact that if you don't have a context for the audience, you're just talking to yourself. So why talk to yourself? That's not going to get you anywhere. You've got to build an audience, and that context is King Kong to build that audience and give that audience some context of why they'd want to come back for more, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
the third C, we've already talked about a little bit. Consistency is King Kong's mother because King Kong's mother trumps King Kong every time. Okay. Doing it over a period of time, doing it consistently from the tone standpoint, from the from the style standpoint, doing it consistently from the timing standpoint, all of those kind of things are important as well.
Yeah, and I love that you finished on consistency because we were talking a little bit about that too before we went live. And there was, I think it was primarily in sort of the midst of the pandemic. I remember it from maybe 2021 where there was this whole, 365, 7, 365, people were, it was a challenge and it was something, like, I started my podcast in 2020 because I had no business. I had something, I wanted to do something. So there was a lot of the idea of posting
Yeah.
every day, 7 days a week, not
Yeah.
missing anything. And I will be honest, I tried it. I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And I think I went like 2 weeks and then I found myself just posting stuff to post. And I was like, okay, so that's not the thing. But as we were chatting, the idea of having, this quality content rather than quantity of content, but also having the consistency. So to
Yep.
me, that means having some kind of a plan for a certain number of days. Like my target is 5. My target is 5 days a week. If I sometimes I do more, if I do less, I try not to beat myself up, but that's my goal. So talk a little bit about the idea of how people can figure, what is the right consistency for them.
Well, they're going to have to find the sweet spot. Okay. And literally, I've talked about this in many instances as well, especially from a branding standpoint. I mean, you could literally post once a minute or you could post once a month, but neither one of those is the right time frame, right?
Mhm.
If you post once a minute, I've said this before. If I posted once a minute, sooner or later someone would call me on it and they would go, "Oh no, that's Jeff Young's post again. Will somebody please shut him up?" Okay, it's just too much. You can't do value that consistently over time. But if you post just once a month, you get no traction. Okay, so once a month really worked out well. Back to what we were talking about before for newsletters. Once a month was a sweet spot for newsletters. Okay,
Mhm.
because that way you could come up with long form content that actually gave people 5 to 10 minutes worth of material to read, and you didn't have to come up with it every single week, which would again be a little bit of a challenge, right? So honestly, for me, over time, over those 10 years that I've been publishing content, I have actually found that my sweet spot has really kind of narrowed itself down to once or twice a week for me.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not
Mhm.
telling you that you have to publish once or twice a week. I'm not telling anybody that they have to publish once or twice a week. I'm not telling anybody they have to publish 5 times a week. I'm not telling anybody they have to publish daily. It has to be the sweet spot for you. And really, the reason for that is that I have been, honestly, this is the cool part about it. LinkedIn supplies you with a great deal of free analytics. And the coolest part for me is that over the last couple of years, I have continued to scale my number of posts down. Sweet spot for me is usually the tip of the week consistently. I'm always posting a tip of the week, and I'm always posting that post at Monday morning. Okay. Monday morning here, Eastern time, which again, there I don't worry about what time of day I post anymore, as long as I'm doing it at the same time each day, because it's become such a global audience that it doesn't matter. Within the first 24 hours, somebody's going to see it anyway. The people I want to are going to see it anyway. Okay. So, but here's what the analytics are telling me. I am posting fewer times. I'm posting less, but I'm getting the same number of views over time. So literally, I'm looking at the long-term frame of that, because when I look at my analytics on every single Monday morning, I've done this for like months now. For every single Monday morning, I go out there and I look at my total views over the last 365 days, and it's staying consistent. Okay, maybe going down a little from time to time. Depends on the
Mhm.
time frame. Depends on when, what. Obviously, at Christmas time, it went down slightly, right?
Mhm.
But it's coming right back after that, and it's staying at exactly the same number of views. So if I don't have to post any more content, and I'm still adding value, and I'm still getting engagement, okay? Because see, that's really what the purpose of content really is. From a consistency standpoint, it's not about the number of views you get, it's about the number of people who look at it and then actually engage with it.
Yes, yes. I love that you say that. And when you were talking about posting like that, I was thinking because you do your um so one of them is the tip and is one of them the good news or is that the combination? Because I know that you do the good news, which is always something, inspiring and
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
And I think it's you have the if you do the twice a week that you have different things you do on different days and it's
yeah.
consistently those topics those days.
Yeah, for a while there, I was actually going for 2 days a week. My plan, my schedule, if you will, was to have something on a Monday and then also something on a Thursday. So the tip was on Monday. The good news was on Thursday. Okay. I've actually scaled it down now, still using both those, so I scaled it down now to be pretty much the tip is going to happen every single week, but I'm only going to do the good news if something inspires me. However, for example, yesterday I did a post, okay? And we need to talk about this maybe a little bit as well. But what I did as a post was not my post, it was your post. It was your announcement of the event.
Oh, yes, yes.
So I reposted that. Okay.
Mhm.
So there's another form of posting, as in reposting, which sometimes, I repurpose your content and I do it as a repost. Now there's a couple of different aspects of that as well. There's two options. You can repost, okay, by itself, or you can repost with comments.
Mhm.
I almost never repost with comments because my repost is not about me, it's about you. Okay. And so what I want to do is it comes up in my post. It comes up as a post that
Mhm.
I've done,
Mhm.
but all the comments come back to both of us
Mhm.
because it's still your post. They all consolidate under one post, which I love that process because that gets it, and by the way, since it's the event post, it's going to get all the comments that we've gotten, that we're going to get on this live if we're actually going live or maybe replay. Okay. So it'll work
Well,
out one way or the other.
well, we are actually, as of like 11 minutes after we were on my banner sooner, and then we have been on the event page for quite a
Okay.
while. I don't see any comments coming in, so people may think that they may have left us because we were delayed,
We
and
were we
sorry
were so
about that.
late, right?
But
Yeah.
but I'm a fan of reposting too, and when I repost, I rarely ever like it says add your thoughts. I don't do that either.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like about that is that if you are reposting, you're not going past the once a day, so you're not being it's not being counted as another post of the day. So you're
Right.
able to share information
Right.
without having that sort of lesser. And one thing that I do occasionally, and I see a lot of what I would consider, influencers that repost their own stuff, from time to time. And I
Yeah.
have done that occasionally for a post that performed really well and maybe a couple of weeks ago that I feel like maybe a carousel that I felt was a lot of solid
Yeah.
information. I might
Yeah.
repost it, if I'm busy that day or something. And
Yeah.
so I like that whole reposting dynamic.
Well, and honestly, I've done that a few times as well, not consistently because I
Mhm.
don't want it to seem like I'm doing my own stuff every single time, right? But honestly, I've taken my Monday post and I've reposted it on a Thursday. And guess what? It's like a brand new post. I mean, it
Yeah,
takes off again and I get more views, right?
yeah.
So
Well, that's the thing, and one of the things that I think it's important to that I'd like to mention because it's kind of a thing for me personally. A lot of people that I know don't create content. They don't share it on LinkedIn because they're concerned about, maybe I don't have enough knowledge or people will feel that it's lacking or and the thing is, and I say this to people particularly if they're thinking of doing video, you post a video on there, barely anybody's going to see it because it's
true.
only a fraction of, if even if someone has 30, 40,000 followers on LinkedIn, it's not 30,000 people that are see every post. I don't know if
Exactly.
you have that many, maybe it's 4,000. I don't know, but
Right.
it's such a small amount of people that are going to see what you post. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I think that's important to me because I think people are shy about it. As you mentioned, I think before we went live, that not that many people are even creating content. So
Right.
if you're sharing it, you're standing out.
Right. Yeah, you do. I mean, it's a really great differentiator. And I think, one of the things that I see people say is that, well, I don't really want to toot my own horn so much, right? That's another reason why they don't necessarily even want to do content. But like I said, that's because I don't mind it at all because I love to do my content because my content's not necessarily about me. My content's about what I do for other people. My content's about adding value to other people. And oh, by the way, your content, you have a library, okay, of all your content right there on your profile, okay? And it's a way of highlighting. What do you think the featured section is for? Okay, it's to feature, okay, your and other people's content. Because again, this event is in my featured section because of the fact that I wanted to make sure that that folks had a chance to actually come to this and register for it and get in to see it. Another thing that I'm really surprised. Here's one that maybe this is so unknown that people just don't realize it. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say show first?
Well, I do now. I mean, I've known about the feature for a while because I had a friend say, email me or message me say, how did you do that? So talk about it.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you'll explain it better than I would.
Well, no, it's about your activity. It's related to your activity section. Okay. There's a pencil, there's an edit on your activity section, and you get to highlight the type of content that you want to show first. So in your case, you want to highlight, okay, at least for a while now, you've been highlighting videos because now your videos show up, right? I want to highlight posts with images because all of my images show up. And oh, by the way, people who know me also know that I'm a GIF nut. Okay. So most of my images are moving. Most of my images are, doing one of these numbers. Okay. So from that standpoint, I want my images to show because my images are moving and that will attract more people as well. Right. And the really benefit of choosing something different than posts for show first is that posts shows you the last 3. Images shows you the last 8. Videos shows you the last 8. So it's a whole lot more of your content right there front and center for anyone who wants to click on it. I don't want to call it that, but for lack of a better word, it's clickbait. Okay. It's basically something that someone can click on and go to immediately and enjoy your content and find more of your content just because you showed it first. I love that option.
No, I do too. I do too. And I thought actually when my friend messaged me and said, "Oh, how did you get all those videos on your profile?" I thought everybody had it, and I understand that it started a while ago, but it's still rolling out. So that is something. So we are like just about at the end here, and the time flew by so fast. I just want to. I always like to ask at the end, and I'm going to share your profile while you're sharing whatever it is you wish to share with me. I always like to ask what you would like to add. I mean, we've talked about a lot. We kind of talked a little bit about what we were going to talk about, but what would you like to share that we haven't talked about?
Well, we haven't talked about the fact that you really don't even have to create content to be effective on LinkedIn. Thank you for showing my profile. That's my library. It's open 24/7, 365. Actually, 366 if you count this year. Okay, and as you scroll down, you can see the images. My images are there, and my images are moving, so you get the idea. You don't even have to do content from that standpoint. One of the other C's that I will add to my other 3 C's that I talk about: content is king, context is King Kong, consistency is King Kong's mother. One of the other C's that I think you really need to take into effect for this is that comments are content too. So you can be effective on LinkedIn by just going out there and commenting on other people's stuff. And that has started so many comments lead to another C, which is conversations. Okay. And conversations, this is, it leads to, comments lead to conversations, conversations lead to conversion. Okay. You could actually convert that person to an actual client, another C. Okay. So it's all those C's come together, and just doing that is enough. You don't have to come up with your own content scheme or anything along those lines, but being out here and using the tool for what it's really meant to do, which is engage and be a part of the comment, is a great thing that you can do as well. So hopefully people can do that too.
So I just want to let you know, Jeff, although we haven't seen comments come in, I have seen some reactions coming in. So people are are out there and aware of this. And I know you have a link, so people should definitely follow you. I know you're, kind of tapped out on connections, but people should definitely be following you. And you can go on, click on, and watch all your how-to videos. So there is a wealth of information
Yep. Well,
on your profile.
thank you for showing my profile. I can also see that you and I are connected. You actually have rang my bell as well. So if someone follows me, the bell will show up. So if you want to see more, ring the bell as well, because that will actually get you notified. That's not an email, but that's just a notification that I've actually posted my Monday thing or something along those lines. So and I'm always available in comments to answer questions and things like that. And I'm glad to see at least a couple of our peeps did actually bear the technical difficulties and show up. Thank you to Kevin and Fred. Yeah.
It's so crazy, with technology. It's fabulous when it works, but sometimes it just is not working for us. So, Jeff, I thank you so much for being here. And we have so many other things we wanted to talk about. So we may have to come back with a part 2 of this, maybe down the road a little bit. But I thank you so much for being with me today. And thank you to everyone who hung in there with us. We appreciate it. And I will see you all next week. So I will have to say goodbye now.
Namaste, and thank you again, Annette. Been a pleasure.